The Wizard Party is my new game, and I wanted it to feel very surreal and whimsical, and every character to be this silly 2D animated creature that stands out against the painted backdrops. Originally, the game was actually going to be a more traditional point and click, so I had some original sketches for that, and characters from that came through, but otherwise I did just a mock-up for what I wanted the screen to look like, and unintentionally designed most of the characters. My approach is usually just to try and fill the space with interesting things. This isn't great for all art or necessarily even most games, but for me, I wanted a really frenetic and silly vibe, so it worked out. So some characters are tall, and then when I went to draw the next one, I just made a wider shape to contrast it. Then I wanted to make something big and small, and just latching onto those simple adjectives to inspire you to create a weird shape that later on you can flesh out into an interesting character. I then sketched more detailed version, also keeping in mind that since this is 2D animation, I didn't want too much unnecessary detail. Then I'd have to animate it every frame. So simplifying things where I could and making it just kind of sleek and pleasant and accentuating their interesting characteristics. I broke the animation down into limbs. I started just with the head, so simple circular shape. I started with where it was in the design and then figured out where I wanted it to move to, and that's the simple motion it's going to do. Then I just added an in-between, so something that's literally halfway between those two, but keeping in mind to apply good animation principles. So things shouldn't move linearly, they should move on an arc, and that gives you the basic movement. A lot of animation has anticipation and follow through. If you were to jump, you'd crouch down first. That's the anticipation, something to do before the movement. Then the movement is you jumping, and then the exaggeration or follow through or overshoots is when you're at the height of your jump and you're all stretched out. The motion is jumping, but there's something before and after to really sell that motion. There is no anticipation in the animation for the Wizard Party, just overshoots. From the two keyframes that we did at the start, I made it overextend one way and then pull back and then overextend the other way. And I went and did that for every single limb, so they had this weird bouncy looping motion. And then what was really key to do is I offset them all. This way it didn't feel like a generic motion that started and stopped, which loses visual interest because your brain naturally sees the start and stop of the animation and goes, cool, now to look away. Whereas there's always something going on and it really draws you in. I found it best throughout the animations to have the motion kind of move through the body. So the feet or torso would start and then I'd offset the arms so they'd drag behind, and then the head's behind that. And then if there's a hat, that drags even further behind. So it's kind of like a wave going through the body. I then went in and added secondary details like the stick neck, making sure that actually lined up with all the motions, and other characters would move their arms, and then I'd move that to line it up with where the torso had moved. Then I'd go and do the actual final line work. So every character is on a 6-frame loop, and they also animate at 6 frames a second. So it's a second loop for everyone, which keeps it nice and unified. I also make sure to give all the characters thick line work to make it really cartoony. Flat colors, I didn't want any gradients or anything because that way it stands out against the really oil painted style backgrounds. Since all the motions are designed based on their kind of static sketches, they're all kind of weird or just wobbling in place. Again, not very realistic, but for what I'm wanting, which is this whimsical little characters at a party full of magical creatures, it works. I had a lot of fun trying to make things just twist in interesting ways. That has been my process. Let me know which of these creatures you think you could beat in a fight, and go wishlist The Wizard Party on Steam, please. Thank you.